Okay, listeners, and we are now live. Guess who we are live with? The absolutely fabulous, gorgeous looking, I can see her, Sonali Bendre. Sonali, welcome to the show.
Hi, Fatima. I love that song.
Sorry, I don't think I've got sound. Just bear with me 1 second and I shall get that on. Right, now I think I have sound. Sonali, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
fabulous. I can hear you too now. So thank you so much for speaking to us. Really, really exciting. You're looking absolutely lovely.
I love that song you were playing.
It's a lovely song, isn't it? One of my favorite songs.
Yes, I love it.
From the 90s. And you looked absolutely beautiful. That the picturesque scenery, I can still visualize it all now. I'm a 90s child, as you can tell. So I grew up with a lot of your songs and a lot of your films. And that was definitely one of my favorites. And I think you were lovely in Major Saab. I think that role was so you. I don't know if you agree with me there.
It was lovely. It was very real. And the song was short also. It was like a story. And it was beautiful. It was not like a dancing thing. It was more like acting.
It was a dream, I would say.
It was lovely.
Yes, yeah. It was. So this is my debut interview with you, by the way, and it's your debut OTT. This is the first time I'm interviewing you, and it's the first time you're going on OTT platforms. So it's the first for both of us, which is really exciting. And also, it's been a long time since we've seen you on screen, almost 7 years, since we saw you face the camera for such a series of films. So it's really exciting for fans like me who grew up watching you in the 90s. But what I want to know, because you've had such a long gap, what was the first day on set like for you?
Nervousness. It was not chaotic, but it was nervousness and it was a bit scary. I was nervous because I was doing this after a very, very long time. And, you know, I mean, everybody said that once you've done it, you can always get back on. It's like cycling. You will always know how to do it. But that's everybody else saying it. Till you don't go through it, you don't believe it. And you're always going to be nervous about, am I going to pull this off? And scared because, you know, my director was doing, I got the one night earlier, I got to know that we were doing one of the most important scenes in the show, which was, and I was hoping I would start in a kind of smooth myself in a walking shot here and something else. And suddenly I realized I had this lines and I was doing this important scene. So I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And I'm like, can you not do this? What are we doing? He's like, I have my light coming in at that time and I need to do this scene at that time, etc., etc. He said, but don't worry, by the time you finish with this scene, you will have no doubts about what your character is like. And he was absolutely right about it. The earlier night, it took me that night was a difficult night. Walked in on the set, but by the time I finished that scene, oh, it was such an amazing feeling. And by the time I finished my first day, I was like, why have I stayed away for so long?
I agree with you. Why have you? We've missed you too. And it's so good to see you back. Now, the story, it's very relatable for me, firstly, because obviously it's our industry. But also it's an incredibly relevant script, I would say, for today's times that we live in, both British media as well as Indian media, I would say. And it deals with a clash between ethical and obviously sensationalist or, as some say, invasive news. How did this role therefore come about for you? And what interested you about your character, Amina Qureshi, I believe she's called?
I think what interested me was the story. I wanted to be part of this song, and because of what what the series is talking about. As you said, it is so relevant to today's times, and you know it's what is happening around us. And I do feel that this story is like it's not about what you said. It's not about you know, just about the journalists being ethical, non-ethical, etc., etc. It's something a little bit more than that. I think it's a mirror that we are holding up to the society. Journalists, editors, which is what I pay, the editor-in-chief. We're all part of the society. We're all human beings. And, you know, this is where we are heading. And somewhere what this story does is it takes the viewer behind the scene into the newsroom. And what happens in the newsroom, and there's so much drama in the newsroom, and it's so exciting what happens there. And there are human beings there. And so there are human choices that need to be made. Do I make this choice? I'm being compelled to do something else. I feel this way about it. All the ego, the choices, the compulsions, the need, it is so human. So I think it is human drama. And when the viewer is taken behind the scene into the newsroom, I think what it does is gives the viewer a point of view where they get to see that everybody is flawed. Your news and the presenters can be flawed. So it doesn't mean you don't see it or you don't listen to it, but understand that it can be flawed and that you need to do your own due diligence would be the right word. We all need to do that. I feel that, it is the situation. We are all getting confused between knowledge and information. And knowledge is great. We all need it. It needs to be respected. But is the news that's given out really knowledge, or is it information? Because if it is information, then it can be good, bad. It's what you make of it and how you look into it and the due diligence that you do. And that's what this show shows you, that it's information. What you make out of this information is out of you, is on you. And also what it shows is, what do you choose to see as a viewer? It's a business. It's the economics. What you demand is going to be the supply. So you as a viewer needs to be aware of what you're demanding.
Wow, sounds really fascinating. That really interesting. So speaking of information or news, if I was to say to you to give us some, and you can choose either sensationalism or ethical information about your co-stars from the set, Shreya and Jaydeep, how would you give us news on those two, working with them on the set?
I think I would stick to sensationalism about them. What fun.
I'm gonna love this. Go for it.
But it was amazing working with them. They're wonderful co-stars. And for me, it was very exciting. I really wanted to work with new talent, be it actors, writers, director, because there's just such amazing things that are happening where the new talent is concerned because of the new platforms that are there. And suddenly there are all these new voices and they have these exciting stories to tell, which didn't have a place earlier on. When I was in movies, there was no place for these voices. Suddenly there is this burst of places where you can tell these new stories and different voices can be heard. So it's very exciting for me. And they work very differently now also. So it was great learning. I enjoyed it so much.
Oh, wow. Sounds amazing. I bet you guys had lots of fun on the sets. So one of my questions to you is, I would say you're quite an inspiration for working women and for women who have families, mainly because of what you've gone through recently with your health challenges. But now seeing you come back and doing it so gracefully, so amazingly, if you had to say something about your journey till date, what would you say? What would you leave with our listeners?
I would say that I think we need to, what I have understood from the second chance that I have got is that you need to be true to yourself. And that kind of truth is very important in life and in every aspect of life. We talk about such and facts for the show also. And in the same way, in our lives also, that truth is very important. We can all kind of sweep things under the carpet and we can be a bit, just behave like an ostrich and not really acknowledge what we don't want to. It's not always comfortable to acknowledge the truth, but we need to be true to ourselves. Until we don't acknowledge that truth, we won't find a way out of it. We're just going to keep getting trapped in the same situation again and again. So especially to women, I would say that we need to understand, we need to be true to ourselves, because the moment we are true to ourselves and start taking care of that aspect, a lot of other things in your family life, in your personal life, kind of starts falling into place. Yes, it can also kind of, for a lot of people, it can kind of create havoc initially in the relationships, or because of there's a certain status quo that has been going. Change is always uncomfortable, but the faster you adapt to that change, the easier it is.
Amazing, how inspiring. Now, our lines are going absolutely crazy because everybody knows you're live on radio with us, but obviously we can't talk to everybody. And I could talk to you all evening, I think. But I think it's time for my last question. And my last question to you is, so you've been working in the entertainment industry now for close to 3 decades. It's a long time, isn't it? And no, you've got a fabulous body of work.
Very, very young at heart.
Totally, and you still look very, very young. You look stunning, and like I was saying, with a fabulous body of work, have you ever looked back at your work and given yourself any feedback? And if you have, what was
given myself
any feedback, any constructive feedback?
Let me say this, that a lot of my work I have never seen, because when I'm shooting, I've not enjoyed it as much. So I never saw it. And the feedback to me is, after doing that, is only choose the stories and do the work that I will like to watch. And I really hope that all of your listeners show that kind of love to the show also. Broken News on 10th of June on Z5. Thank you guys for having me.
So Fever FM listeners, you better be watching the lovely Sonali Bendre on Z5 for the Broken News. Wishing you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.